The best research comes from having a very curious mind. It also comes from having a very vivid imagination. And it also comes from the use of abduction. So what are the different types of reasoning? They are deduction. That is where the conclusions follow directly from the premises. So you might have all A's are B. Therefore, if it's an A, it must be a B. Other option is inductive reasoning. That is where you infer beyond the premises. So you might say all the swans I've ever observed have been white, therefore all swans are white. With deduction, the answers are always accurate if you have accurate premises. So if you have accurate premises, then with deduction you use accurate logic and you produce a accurate answer. I suppose in the term in logic is called a sound argument, which I suppose is where you have accurate premises and correct logic. Other logic is if you have have correct logic but faulty premises, the answer is bullshit, it's wrong. Or I suppose if you have accurate premises but incorrect logic, you have an error too. So I suppose there are errors in logic, but I'm saying on the whole, people talk about using accurate premises, using good logic, and those are sound arguments and they're accurate always. With inductive reasoning, it can produce errors because you're going beyond information. So all the swans you've ever observed were white, therefore they're all white. All swans are white, but they aren't. Because we have white swans, we have black swans, we also have black and white swans. So inductive reasoning can be wrong. And in science, I would say that pretty much every single scientific theory we have now will be either improved or replaced in 10,000 or 100,000 years time. So I feel as though pretty much our science right now is the best it's ever been, but probably lots is garbage because of our limited understanding at the moment. So science is hyped. I would say science and hype are very interchangeable because scientific research has very strong reputation, but if one was to look back on it from in say 100,000 or 10,000 years time, the theories now would be much more childlike than even comparing the theories of say 100 or 300 years ago. So I feel as though there's been much scientific progress in the last few hundred years, and in the next 10,000 to 100,000 years or more, there will be much more progress. Groovy. What's the third sort of reasoning? That is abduction. And what is abductive reasoning? It's where you have some facts and you guess a plausible reason to describe the facts. And this is a very, very important part of science, even though scientists oftentimes won't admit it. So why is it important? It's important because when we do experiments, we make hypotheses, we use the theory from past research to guess what the results will be like, and then do the experiment, and usually the results don't fit with the what we expect precisely. There usually are abnormalities, things which weren't expected, and this is the best part of research. So with research, you produce results, and they usually don't precisely fit. So I suppose what the purpose of research is in the discussion is to give an explanation for why the results were as they were, and so the hypotheses may be supported fully, supported partly, or disproved in part. Anyways, I suppose three main areas, and so they're either supported fully, supported in part, or disproved, because disproved in part is the same as supported in part. Anyway, I got there eventually. Groovy. So it's important to try to work out what it means, and I believe that a large part of the discussion in scientific research comes from the process of abduction. So I suppose there's certain results, and you just guess a way of describing the outcome based upon prior research and also based upon the method of the experiment. So I suppose because the experiment the method may be a little bit different to other previous research, because obviously you're trying to do new research. And you also, I suppose, may even draw from other areas too. So I suppose if the results are very striking and are very unusual, you may even be maybe have a discussion with a friend in a different area or whatever, and just guess something new using abduction, guessing, a very important part of research. So researchers who do good work are very imaginative, have a very curious mind, and they use abduction, they guess their answers. So having a very curious mind is important. Being meticulous and having attention to detail is important. It's also important to be perceptive. So having a curious mind is great. I can remember as a kid maybe being, say, 7 or 8 and going to a function at a farmhouse, and my parents were with this function talking to these people in one of the at a restaurant. There was a farmhouse at the back for the kids to muck around with, and I suppose it was a bit dark in this farmhouse with corrugated iron. It was kind of actually more part of the side of the restaurant area with corrugated iron wall, and there's really tiny holes in the corrugated iron, and a bit dusty. And when there was dust, I suppose you could see the light streaming in, and it would then create a dot on the ground. And the weird thing was there was a large variety of holes which the light came through, and you could work out which hole each dot came from by walking in front of the hole and moving your hand. I suppose you could block off the light. So I suppose when the path of light was blocked from the hole, that was able to find out which hole the light came from. So I came across a very striking conclusion as maybe a 7 or 8 year old, and that was that some of the very, very tiny holes produced bigger dots on the ground than other bigger holes. I thought, why the fuck is this? I was a little sort of 7 or 8 year old kid. I didn't know why. Had no fucking idea why. And I went and asked him, and he didn't know either. So I feel as though having a curious mind's good. In society, we do assume, we just take lots of things for granted. So I'm saying, I can remember being in, I think, grade 1, and light was on the room. Teacher turned off the light. Teacher asked the students to guess why it's gone dark in the room. Grade 1 students, or grade prep students. And it's interesting, I suppose, how I think someone actually said, hey, it was because so-and-so turned off the light. The next of, I suppose, is that the electricity in the wires then goes through the tungsten in the light globe, causes resistance, which causes the light to shine. But I'm saying there are many layers of understanding. Many layers. And in society, many things happen, and we just take it on face value, and we assume it to be true, but we don't really know. So I'm saying I've never actually, I assume electricity is going through the power, through the wires in the house, but I've never actually, I'm saying some things we can't observe. So you assume there's electricity which powers the lights, but you don't know, because you just don't know. So I suppose, but I'm saying that's, I suppose, obvious, but I'm saying that there are other areas whereby it is, anyway, what I'm saying is that it's important, if possible, to provide it safe to test things out. But it's very important to be safe, so don't do anything stupid, okay? It's important to do things that are safe, but also to test out things we don't know. What else? So having a perceptive mind can be a good thing. Thought experiments can be good too. I can remember, I suppose, thinking this year about how you have a man. This can be the next post. We'll do it next. Groovy.